Welcome to Lesson 7b, Normal Shock at Known Location in a CD Nozzle. In a previous lesson, we calculated flow through a converging-diverging nozzle where a shock was right at the exit plane. In this lesson, I'll work through a detailed example problem where we have the shock at a known location, namely here, not at the exit plane. In particular, in this example, we're given a large tank with known stagnation temperature and pressure, and the back pressure is adjusted such that a normal shock sits at the location of the nozzle where the area is twice the throat area. We'll call this throat area A*1, the actual throat. So at this location, A1 over A*1 is 2, twice the throat area. We're also told that the nozzle exit area is 3 times the throat area. That would be this area at the exit plane. So AE over A*1 is 3 times the throat area. And note that we use A*1 here, since that is how it's defined. But from our previous lessons, in this portion of the duct downstream of the shock, there's an imaginary A*2 in this flow. By the way, this back pressure, PB, will also be PE, where E stands for the exit plane. And what we'll do in this example is calculate the pressure and Mach number at the exit plane. We make our standard assumptions and approximations: ideal gas, steady flow, adiabatic and one-dimensional, and isentropic up to the shock, from the tank all the way to the shock, non-isentropic across the shock, and then isentropic again after the shock, but with a different A*2 and a different P0. The tank stagnation pressure is P01, but downstream of the shock, we have P02. P02 is less than P01, but A*2 is greater than A*1. Now let's do the analysis. First, upstream of the shock, A1 over A*1 is a function of M1 and gamma, using our area ratio versus Mach number equation. I'm not going to write this out since we've done it many times, but we can solve for M1 implicitly using any technique you like: false position method, fancy calculator, tables, etc. At the given A1 over A*1 equal 2, we get M1 equal 2.1972. Now we go across the shock, which is not isentropic. And I should have mentioned here that this equation that we have used previously is for isentropic flow. Well, at this known Mach number upstream of the shock, we can calculate properties across the shock. Namely, at M1 equal 2.1972, we can calculate P2 over P1, P02 over P01, etc. as needed. Again, I won't show all the equations, since we've already done this several times. My results are P2 over P1 is 5.4656, T2 over T1 is 1.8544, P02 over P01 is 0.62941, and I comment here that even though pressure increases across the shock pretty dramatically here, more than a factor of 5, but stagnation pressure decreases across the shock by a factor of 0.629 here. This reflects the loss of oomph, as I said before, due to irreversibilities.
I lost my oomph about 20 years ago.
I hear ya. We also can calculate Mach number 2. I get 0.54743. Now we have to continue our calculations downstream from point 2 to point E at the exit plane. We now know all the properties at 2, and this is subsonic flow here, so we should be able to go from 2 to E, keeping in mind that this flow is subsonic and isentropic downstream of the shock. So what we'll do is apply again the isentropic area ratio equation. Here AE over A*2 will be a function of ME and gamma, but we don't know A*2. So I'll ask the students, how can we calculate AE over A*2 so that we can calculate the Mach number ME?
Well, Duck and I, we've been practicing ratios, so I volunteer Duck to answer. Thanks a lot, Dick. Well, I guess AE over A star 2 is AE over A star 1 times A star 1 over A star 2.
That's right, Duck. You've learned your ratios well. We write AE over A star 2 is AE over A star 1 times A star 1 over A star 2. This value was given in the problem statement, namely this is 3, and an equation for this ratio was derived in the previous lesson, namely A star 1 over A star 2 is P naught 2 over P naught 1, or M1 over M2 times 1 plus gamma minus 1 M2 squared over the same thing in the denominator, but M1 squared, all raised to the gamma plus 1 over 2 gamma minus 1. We know M1, M2, and gamma, so we can plug in this equation and get 0.62941, which, by the way, we calculated previously because we calculated P naught 2 over P naught 1. So this agrees with what we already know. Well, combining this 3 and this value, AE over A star 2 becomes 1.8882. Now we can apply our isentropic equation to calculate ME, again implicitly, and we get two roots, a subsonic one and a supersonic one. Of course, this one is correct since the flow is subsonic downstream of the shock. We ignore this supersonic root. Thus our first answer is that the Mach number at the exit plane is 0.3265, and I'll give my answer to 4 digits here. Notice that ME is less than M2, which was 0.54743. This is because the flow from 2 to the exit is a subsonic diffuser, where Mach number goes down, but pressure goes up. Now let's calculate the exit pressure, PE, which is also equal to PB, since it's subsonic flow and there's no flare-out or shock cells or anything like that. We'll just get a subsonic jet coming out. Well, how do we do this? Again, wise use of ratios. I'll set PE equal PE over P naught 2, P naught 2 over P naught 1 times P naught 1. This ratio, since the flow is isentropic from 2 to E, is 1 plus gamma minus 1 over 2 ME squared to the negative gamma over gamma minus 1. This value is the same as our critical area ratio, A star 1 over A star 2, and P naught 1 was given in the problem statement as 1000 kPa, or 1 megapascal. Plugging in this ME and gamma, we get 584.6 kPa. So our second answer is PE is 584.6 kPa. And I'll just comment, this is higher than P capital E, which, as you should recall from our plots of pressure versus downstream distance in the duct, that E was the case where the shock is at the exit plane of the duct, as in our previous example, where we have the throat here, we have the supersonic branch and the subsonic branch. This was case C, and in our example here, this is case D, where the shock is at some location in the duct. Thus PE, or PD, is greater than PE. I confirmed all these results using Excel, where I plot both Mach number and pressure as functions of distance x down the duct. Mach number is 1 at the throat, so this point is the throat, which turns out to be at 1.40 meters in my nozzle. Notice that the flow is subsonic up to the throat, and then supersonic up to the shock, and then subsonic again after the shock. This Mach number at the exit plane we had calculated as 0.3265, which is here on the Mach number scale. I'll label some other values here. M1 is 2.192 upstream of the shock, where our notation of course is 1 in front of and 2 behind the shock, and then E at the exit plane. P1 is 93.93 kPa just upstream of the shock, and downstream of the shock, M2 is 0.5474. By the way, P star in this problem is 528.3 kPa. We can do that one in our head, since you may recall that P star over P naught is 0.5283, and P naught in this problem, P naught 1, was 1000 kPa. P2 turned out to be 513.4 kPa, which is here on the pressure scale. And finally, this all agrees with what we've discussed qualitatively previously. The flow accelerates through the converging section, continues to accelerate through the diverging section, jumps dramatically down in Mach number to subsonic across the shock, and then in the subsonic diffuser, the Mach number and velocity decay to our final ME, exit Mach number. Meanwhile, the pressure decreases in the converging portion through the throat and then continues to decrease right up to the shock. The pressure jump is significant across the shock, and then pressure increases in the subsonic diffuser to a final exit pressure of 584.6 kPa, which, as you can see, is bigger than P2 and also bigger than P star in this case. In the next lesson, we'll do a similar example with the same geometry actually, but we'll give PE and have to calculate where this shock is. And I'll let you know in advance this will require some iteration. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos. 1, 2, 3.